Hi, I'm Russell Sturgis. I'm the author of the book, The Spiritual Roots of the Tarot, the Cathar Code Hidden in the Cards. Do you know that this is quite a challenging book to sell? And part of the reason being is that the book covers two diametrically, ultimately opposed communities. One is the Christian community and the other one is the tarot community. And then I throw a sprinkling of Holy Grail tradition in there as well. You know, as far as the Christians were concerned, and I was raised in a Christian household, tarot was deemed to be evil, satanic. It was even called the Book of the Devil. It was something that you wouldn't have anything to do with. And then from the tarot community's perspective, there's a demarcation between the esoterica of tarot and Christian tradition. So much so, the earliest tarot cards that we know of, which were the Marseille Tarot, originally had three what I would call Christian-based cards in their major arcana, which was the Pope, the Popess, and the House of God. And there was a point in the evolution of the tarot community where those names were dropped and the Pope was replaced with the Hierophant, the Popess with the High Priestess, and the House of God became known as the Tower card. So they removed any reference to Christianity completely. And so what we end up with is two groups of people who I'm presenting a book that sort of says, in this are the deep spiritual mysteries, and the tarot people who are much more inclined to be more esoterically involved in it would probably go, yeah, okay, but we don't see them being Christian. And the Christian community are going to definitely go, well, no, there's nothing about this. The essence of this book particularly marries the Beatitudes from the Sermon on the Mount with some of the cards out of the major arcana, and there's a beautiful parallel between these, and it's no coincidence. These cards and this deep mystery teachings were coalesced by a group of people about 700 years ago called the Cathar. They were Gnostic Christians that were deemed to be heretics by the Catholic Church, and the Church had eradicated them as a sect and as a group of people by the middle of the 14th century. But in spite of the fact that the tradition of the people in terms of the Church and the people themselves were concerned, as much as they had disappeared, their deep teachings didn't, and they lived on and were eventually, and this is what I write about, and I explain how these traditions were salvaged into a set of what I'd like to call portable stained glass windows, and they were incorporated into playing cards that had been introduced into Europe during the end of the 14th century, going into the 15th century. And so what we have is this set of 22 images, portable stained glass windows, that contain the deep sacred teachings and mysteries of the Cathar, were salvaged and contained within these cards and continue to exist under the guise of playing cards. And so there was a game called Tarocchi that became popular, and people would, or trumps, and these became trump suits in a game, and it was a perfect place to be able to hide the cards. Now, something interesting happened is that these cards re-emerge with quite strong interest in Paris during the 1600s and the 17th century, and they've become canonized. In other words, there's a set of 22 images that now have a consistent sequence and title and numbering system that are replicated, and they become later referred to as the Marseille Tarot. And so now we have these set of cards that have a very, very strong sense of clarity in design and structure and symbolism. And so these, once again, go out there, but during this time, there's a very strong emergence now of doing tarot readings and the esoteric approach to looking at the cards. So they're not only being used as cards for games, they're now being used for esoteric purposes. perfect place to hide deep mysteries if you're wanting to hide them, or if you're wanting to stop them from being found and destroyed, is to have them hidden in a place where people see them as being something. It's the perfect camouflage. People see them as being something completely different to what they really are. Now, if we jump forward to the 21st century, I'm living in Italy in 2007 and I'm researching the Marseille Tarot, the earliest tarot cards that we know of, and I'm spending a whole year researching and writing about these, and I come across a hidden key in the images. And this key unlocks the deep mysteries, the hidden teachings that are within these cards. And I believe for the first time, certainly in the last few centuries. And so what I was able to do was to discover something that had been hidden for quite some time. So what I write about in the book is essentially what the key was that I found and how I found it. I explain what the knowledge was and the understanding that came as a result of the unlocking of these mysteries. And then in the third instance, I talk about its relevance to us now in terms of for us in our spiritual journey, for us in our health and in our well-being. Okay, so jump forward 3 more years in 2010, and I've taken what is very clearly a formula, and I've transposed this formula into a one-on-one mentoring program. I've trained other people to use it, and so we then start working with individuals one-on-one, helping them to adopt this map that was this template for living that was prescribed by the Cathar 700 years ago, and we're seeing people's lives transform in the most profound ways. So that what we end up having is, over the last decade, hundreds of people having found lives that have consistently joy, fulfillment, peace, love, as the way that they experience it, instead of the pain and suffering that had been part of what they had been experiencing previously. These mysteries in this in these images, which were referred to as the Marseille Tarot, are real, profound teachings that can transform the experience of humanity from one that is fear-based to one that is love-based. And that's why I've written this book, is that I believe that as more and more people can explore and experience the knowledge that's contained within this and adapt it to their lives, we will have more people turning up, being mindful of being kinder to themselves, being kind to other people, and being kind to the planet, because ultimately that's what this is all about. To even pick up my book and read it, you're going to have to do one thing, and that's put aside your bias, put aside your judgments about tarot, Christianity, the Holy Grail, any of those things. You're going to have an open mind. What I can promise you is that you're going to be amazed as you read through and find some of the most wonderful and profound teachings about how to align your life in a way that will result in what the Cathar promised would be the experience of having found the kingdom of heaven here on earth. My book comes out on October 6th. You'll be able to purchase it through Amazon and at your favourite bookstores, Barnes & Noble, online. Please take an opportunity to have a bit of a flick through it and suspend any of your old beliefs just for a time while you're reading the book. Pick them back up at the end and see how they work together. And I look forward to hearing from you. If you would like to get in touch with me, please do. Thank you for taking time to watch the video today, and I'll speak to you again some other time. Bye.